So November 9th, 1989 is when the wall comes down, when the borders opened. You've got a lot of problems then. We have a lot of problems because Margaret Thatcher is not enthusiastic about the opportunity of unified Germany, neither is Francois Mitterrand. You have Gorbachev in a very difficult position with his military and the KGB. It was important in the first couple of weeks for you to reach out to Chancellor Kohl and to establish a joint German-American understanding. What were the first things you thought about as a negotiator, the first steps that you took?
Well, we of course knew that we were going to confront fairly significant opposition from our allies. And you can't blame them. You know, they were worried. There'd been 2 world wars in that century started by Germany. They were really wary of unifying Germany. They were worried that history might repeat itself. So not only did we have to overcome the objection of the Soviet Union, we also had to overcome, initially at least, the objections of our allies. The State Department had begun doing some research and some writing and some thinking about what might happen by way of unification as far back, I think, as September of '89. But things progressed pretty rapidly after the wall came down. We had, I remember a meeting that I had on February the 3rd, 1990 with the West German Foreign Minister Hans-Dietrich Genscher. And it was at that meeting that we discussed the mechanism that we might use to try and unify Germany. There was some initial reluctance even within our administration, because this was going to be such a sensitive and serious topic. But it was my view, and it was the view I know of President Bush, that we'd been talking about freedom for the captive nations of Central and Eastern Europe for 40 years. And we now had an opportunity to try and make it happen. And we certainly should not shirk from that opportunity. We ought to do everything we could to make it happen. At this point in time, we weren't concerned much about whether the unified Germany would be in NATO or not. We were very concerned that there not be a neutral Germany in the center of Europe, which we thought would be a force for instability. And we were frankly even concerned that Germany might want to lean eastward. And so we had all of those things on our minds. But on February the 3rd, the West German foreign minister came, and we met in my office at the State Department. And my staff, including Nick Burns, who at the time was working for Bob Zoellick, but Bob Zoellick was the counselor of the State Department and the head of policy planning. They'd worked up, head of policy planning was a man named Dennis Ross. He and Bob had worked up with Nick's help and the help of others, a formula for proceeding that came to be known as the 2+4 formula. That is, the 2 Germanys, East and West, would handle the internal aspects of German unification, and the 4 occupying powers, France, Britain, Soviet Union, and the United States, would handle the external aspect. When I first surfaced this idea to Hans Dietrich, I said, we ought to do it I said, it's going to be a mistake if we try and do this in NATO. At that time, we had, I think, 15 NATO members. Or certainly, we don't want to do it in the Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe, where there were 32 countries, I think. It would be too unwieldy. So I said to Hans Dietrich, I said, we should do this as 4+2. The 4 occupying powers and the 2 Germanys. He thought about it a while, and he came back to me and said, you know what, I think we can agree to this, provided it's called 2+4 and not 4+2. Well, that didn't make any difference to us, and we agreed to that, and that's the way we went at it. Now, from there, of course, we had to get the agreement of the recalcitrant parties, the Brits, the French, and the Soviets, not only to do it, but to use that process to do it. And ultimately, we were able to do that.
Thank you.